Yeah, good morning, YouTube. It is I, Zaudz Vendetta TV. For the people that know me by Neil the Zod One, that is my other channel. This channel is going to be somewhat similar, but a lot different because I plan on having other hosts on to help me. And not necessarily help me, but just to give their point of view and their take on things. But and so people just don't hear me talk 24/7. But seeing that these first couple of the episodes, maybe 3 or 4, I'm unsure. It depends on my work schedule. Will determine where I sit on the other side of this mic. Now, a lot of people that in the first episode, I told them the reason why I couldn't hit a podcast in studio because I'm always busy. I'm always working. I'm taking care of things, whether it's work or my kids or, bills. I'm always moving around. And so the budget that it would take to get in these studios is not beyond my reach. It's just at this time I have to focus on other things. You got Christmas coming up and the holidays are one of those that it tugs at your budget a lot more. Now, I'm not going to go too far into everything and why I'm not in a podcast studio because I figure I can get the same results here. People, may worry about the aesthetics, but it's more like if you can talk and you have strong points and people just like you, they're going to follow your channel. And if you don't, they're not, and they're not going to give you the views that you want. And seeing that podcasting is so widespread, it's harder to jump in and create your own lane. People may say I have a leg up because my other channel is at 27,000, but that channel was created off a controversy. First, it began off my story of my life and who I was, but then it got a lot more controversial, and people were either excited at the prospect of having a channel out there that was along that line and just being from where I came from, or and be who I am. And then some people were put off by the fact because they figured that at a certain age you get past all that negativity. But what people don't understand is like when you've been dealing with it so long, it's kind of hard to get rid of certain traits. They're forever with you, and you learn how to maneuver within that. Now, I'm at that age to where I'm getting a lot better at managing and not being so controversial as far as like actually out there looking for problems. I tend to think more, because now it's like I really have to focus. If I don't focus, then my kids suffer, and then that's just something that I just can't have. When it's just when you're solo, you live your own life, but when you have people that depend on you, got to be a lot more stronger in your convictions as far as like this whole podcasting thing and clothing thing and and just being a dad. It's not easy, but it's a constant a constant thing with me that I'm trying. But I'm not gonna go too far into me. I already kind of covered certain things. If the people want to know more about me, just ask me, put in the comments, whatever. But the whole thing with this whole Namor versus Wakanda. Now, there's a lot of people on social media right now up in arms at the fact that they felt as if it was a black versus Hispanic thing, and the character himself, Namor, he came out and said that it wasn't that it wasn't like that. That they need to put more black and Hispanic characters in Marvel and DC. They need to be more superheroes, something that people of the darker hue can look up to and look towards, like bam, I can see myself in that person, whether it's fictional or not. It's just like anything, you see somebody that looks like you, and it's kind of when they're doing something good, you tend to gravitate to that because it reminds you of yourself and the possibilities of what you can be. Like I said, it's fictional, but it still gives people hope, especially the younger generation, and not teens. And I'm talking about, the young ones. Now, what a lot of people fail to realize is Namor wasn't Hispanic. Namor was Submariner, which was an Atlantean. Now, if you really know about your comic book characters, you would know that he was an Atlantean, that he wasn't Mayan, he wasn't Azteca, he was nothing of that sort. But even now, they've erected murals of Namor on it, because it did give people uh hope. Not even, I won't say just hope, but just something to look forward to. They're seeing somebody that is in the likeness of them up there on the big screen, and really doing it. And he was, even though I haven't saw the movie, just watching the trailers, he was a brilliant character. He was strong, uh, and he, it's just one of those things that when you look towards, like if with anything, when we see superheroes, like my favorite characters, the Hulk and Superman, that by far, the Hulk reminds me of myself when I would lose control, and Superman reminds me of the virtue that I would wish to achieve if it was possible, and I try to aim to be like that, not the powers and all this, but just to be like a good person. You know what I mean? Now, at first it was coming from one side. It was one sided. You had I won't even say the Hispanic community, but you had a lot of people from that community that was saying that it was a Mexican versus black thing, and it was so it was so funny, because I was like, why does it always have to go to that point? And this, and I'm gonna get into something a little bit further on, but it's just like, why does it have to get to that point to where it's about race? And then, like I said, Submariner was not Mexican, he was not Hispanic, and the thing that trips me out the most is because the people that supposedly are speaking on it are Mexicanos, but Mayans weren't Mexicanos. They're indigenous to certain parts of like towards the end of Mexico and into Central America, and but most I won't even say most. Every Mexicano that I've ever run into does not claim Maya. The only ones that claim to be Maya are Central Americans. They're the only ones that really claim that. Most people that I've been around with refuse to claim that they're Mayan. They claim that they're Aztecas because they figure it is their people. But now people are up in arms and claiming Maya as their people, the Mayans as their people, and it's just like it's just so, the hypocrisy in it is just like, I don't get it. Like, I get it with the whole Latinx thing. People see it a certain way, that they want to be classified as a certain thing, but this is a character, a fictional character out of a comic book. I mean, if you're gonna speak on certain things, know your character, know the background of Namor. I will reiterate this a million times. Namor was not Hispanic. He had nothing to do with anything Latin. He was an Atlantean. You know what I mean? But people tend to make something out of nothing. And don't get me wrong, it's coming from the other side as well. You just had that dude, the Pan-African dude, the one that was supposed to have created a college or a school to teach Pan-American or Pan-African studies. He's real controversial. Don't believe that a black chick should be with anybody else but the black man, and don't believe that a black man should be with anybody else outside of a black woman, and that anything outside of that he considers you selling out, and he's just over opinionated when it comes to that aspect of life, I guess. Now, don't get me wrong, when people strive for black excellency, like, kudos, you know what I mean? It's something you should always want to see your race be that much greater, to strive for something that much greater, but you can't try to implement that at the same time you're punching down on another race. Now, when it comes to California, there's a lot of the culture amongst blacks and Hispanics have always been strained, because it's like two giants fighting against each other. Now, on one end, you have the blacks that have been getting punched down on forever by everybody. There's no real room for the black community anywhere, because they're getting it from all sides. Ugh. Sorry about that, but And this is not to, get on here and say that you should be sympathetic to the plight, but the understanding behind it, what I mean, is perplexing. Like, why people are the way they are, and why so focused. But like, I get it. Like, the whole punching down on blacks is something that has been ingrained in people, and a lot of it becomes, it's not even necessarily racist. It's just colorism. I mean, people have been blinded by another race into believing that anything of a darker hue is inferior to them. Now, the whole Namor thing, it just goes to show you what happens when you try to give somebody hope. Everything gets misconstrued, and it turns to negativity. And the reason I'm saying that is because, like I said, Namor wasn't Hispanic. He was an Atlantean, and that has nothing to do with any Latin country, like, as far as like Spaniards or Spanish. But people have somehow used him to make a point that can't be made. You know what I mean? It's like you can't do that. You know what I mean? But I find it disturbing how people could take something like that and make something out of it. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it makes no sense. How you it's like when people get mad that instead of being a male, it's a female portraying a male character. As far as, like, it's a comic book. It's a character, and it's really, we grew up with it, but it's really for the next generation's enjoyment as far as children. And people tend to make something out of that, and it's just like, I just don't get it. Like, how little do you have to feel in your life to get on social media and badger and bully another race because or whole gender because they don't fit your narrative and what you feel should be a certain character? Like, there's a lot of things that I don't necessarily agree on, but I tend to keep it to myself until it's within conflict with something that I'm trying to do, or something that I'm trying to live by. Like that, if it doesn't do that, I really don't care. Like, I tend to, like, brush right by it because it has nothing to do with me. It's not harming me. It's not hurting me. A certain person of a certain gender walking by me does not affect my life. It doesn't anger me. It doesn't make me want to be a bigot and talk down on them. It doesn't. The movies don't move me in that way to where I take them so serious that I want to hate on a whole another race in order to, I don't know, make myself feel good. Like, they say, like, if you allow another person to make you that mad, as far as, like, I mean, there's disrespect and there's no disrespect. Like, if a person disrespecting you, of course I expect you to get mad. But if somebody's words hurt you to the point to where you feel you need to lash out and become that person, then you're just weak. Like, your genes are weak. And a lot of people are, like, trying to say that, oh, it's the whites and it's Caucasians pushing this and white supremacy. White people have been quiet. You got them. They every once in a while they come out, but for the most part they've been quiet. They don't have to do nothing. You perpetuate the violence. You take on their mantle without even knowing. And some of you do know that you take on their mantle. Some of you are so far down the rabbit hole that you would forego your own race in order to be something entirely different. A lot of people tell me similar things, but at the end of the day, I've never not claimed that I was black. Like, I didn't use nothing to make my road easier. It's just, like, I don't get it. Like, the sway of white supremacy on certain races is so prevalent and so deep that people are just outright claiming it. I just seen a chick that was Asian said that she was white in the inside, and I'm like I don't understand that type of rhetoric. It's like I've dealt with, Mexicanos my whole life, but I don't feel that I'm Mexicano. I feel a kinness with the culture, but it's because the culture is not too far removed from the black culture. You know what I'm saying? As far as like history, you know what I mean? But yeah, these are things that people really need to sit down and talk about. These are talking points and things that really need to be discussed. Like what is the deep seated hatred towards the black race coming from, Hispanics? Like it's like don't get me wrong, like when it comes to, and no disrespect to the Spaniards, but I see why you're the way you are and why the darker hue affects you so much. You're colonizers, you know what I mean? Your colonizers got you so blinded by hatred, blinded by colorism, that you yourself feel that you are them, and you're not. They do not consider you them. Like, as much as you may want to proclaim to be that, they don't consider you that. You know what I mean? It's the same with, Mexico. Like, a lot of people, like when you do the census, like 80% of the population consider itself white, which I don't really get that, but it's a real thing, and people tend to argue against it. But it's like a real thing. There's a real disconnect in Mexico. There's a real disconnect in a lot of Latin countries that have been colonized, and they still feel that pull towards their oppressors. And I'm not gonna make this video about, anti-Caucasian or nothing like that, because I'm not like that. Like, my family is a smorgasbord of, different races. People, they get with who they want, they have kids with who they want, and it's just how I see life. It's nothing detrimental about the mixing of races. I don't see nothing wrong with that. Usually people that do that, they feel inferior to the other race, and it's a real thing. It's the people may proclaim to be superior to others, but they're inferior, and they feel inferior, and they feel that people are superior to them in a lot of different ways. Now, back to the whole Namor thing. I'm hoping that people will get past it and realize that they're wrong, and that to think on that level is wrong, and that they don't teach nothing by spewing hatred. Like I can go to the internet right now, and you can put up a clip or a post that has something to do with Namor, and every racist and his mom is coming out the woodwork. But what you understand, a lot of times the people that are spewing this hatred are not even Hispanic. They're people with fake profiles. Most of them are white. Some of them are of your own race, and they're trying to purposely get you to incite bull. It's like you'll have people like with the whole eloteros, like the people that sell the corn and stuff like that. You had people attack them, and it was broadcast on TV, like but then you may get a couple of views on some white dude that has sledgehammered somebody's table and don't go to jail. Then you got other races that have did the same thing, but it's like they keep perpetuating this thing between blacks and Hispanics, and it's funny. And all the while, some of them are Hispanic, and they're saying, "Oh no, the reason it's like that is because white, white power and all this other stuff," and they're not even saying nothing. Like, it's almost like the whole Kanye thing. Like, you had the supposed Nazis that were agreeing with. When would a Nazi ever agree with a black man? That's like, when would they ever agree with a black man? Like, people fail to see the bigger story, and it's not a white versus black and a black versus white and a Hispanic versus, they're making it that you're allowing yourself to be manipulated. The people that are actually in power running everything, they don't care about you. It's not even about race, it's classism. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can be white, but you ain't rich, or you ain't this. You don't matter. I don't care what the only reason they created this whole sense of white superiority is because they wanted everybody to fall in line. They know that if they allowed, if they kept it with classism, if they didn't put that I won't say shroud, if they didn't put that blanket, over the whole entire race, then people would be up in arms. You would have what they have right now. You have a lot of white people that feel the plight of the black man and other races, and they flock to their causes, and they're really out there trying to do something. And of course you have other blacks out there that are on the more like, hey, this is this, and they don't want no help, period, because they don't either trust it, or they're just so jaded that they're just like, no, you know what I mean? But there is white people, and a lot of them, that flock to these causes to try to make a difference, because they know that continue with the same rhetoric and the same hatred gets nowhere. They've seen it. They've witnessed it. You know what I'm saying? But it's a lot of people don't want that. A lot of the powers that be don't want that, so they perpetuate this. They put out certain stories because they know it's going to garnish violence. They know it's going to make people, especially the people that are weak-minded and really can't think for themselves, it's going to make them do stupid things. They do it all the time. It's programming. You're programmed to believe that no matter how dark you are, you're white in some sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you got people that really believe that. Like, I don't care. Like, I've seen the darkest Hispanics, the darkest this, the darkest that, and they'll believe that they're somehow that they're white, and it's like, you're not. Like, and your skin complexion proves it. Your hair is about as nappy as mine, and this is not to get on you, because, like I said, you're entitled to choose whatever you want, but you cannot disregard or try to hide the fact that you are of a certain race. It is what it is. You make the best of it. Like, blacks have been getting persecuted since forever, but they have made the best out of it. Like, I try not to go into race because it's stupidity to me. Like, my race this, my race that. No. Everybody's race has something wrong with it, and have people in it that something's wrong with them. I wish people would just stop blaming white superiority or white supremacy for the stupid things that they do. You blatantly call blacks out their name because you are just who you are. You're a bigot and you're a racist. If you're black and you disrespect Hispanic, you're just a racist. There's no real reason to do it, especially when people have suffered similar plights and continue. Now, I'm just going to put this out there for the people, excuse me. You like the shirt? Yeah, squad. But I'm going to put this out here for the people that just fail to realize, like, the big plan. They want you to destroy each other. And I can guarantee you, it's like if today every black and Hispanic killed each other off, and every other race killed each other off, and it was just whites, they will go back to classism. They will go back to classism because they will be able to control their population to a certain extent. It wouldn't be like controlling their population plus the black population plus the Hispanic population. When you have all that togetherness, it's a real issue. So they create these groups. Oh, yeah, they're a part of this group. They're a part of, because it makes it a lot easier. You just have to pay attention to everything. There's an elephant in the room 24/7. You just fail to see it. They don't have to, people who say this white supremacy, they don't have to do nothing. You're doing it for them. You're constantly doing it. You're creating discord amongst your own. Like, you even amongst your own. You got Hispanics that and Latinos, or you got all these different subcategories of this and that, like, that don't even like each other because they're merely over here. There was no borders before, but now it's borders. So it's like, oh, you're Salvadoran, I don't like you. You're dirty. Your Spanish is dirty. Or you're from Honduras, like, you fools are really black. You know what I mean? And it goes on and on. It's the colorism in Latin America is just as strong and just as prevalent. You know what I mean? But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm just here to point out the fact that you're doing the person that you say is your oppressor's job. Like, not every white person is on that page. And I think a lot of times you eventually make them that way, especially with the way you choose to live your life. And the same, you have black people that weren't racist for nothing, but they get tired of hearing their people get killed here and die here because not because of gangs, but racism. That's why Cali is the way it is. You know what I mean? It's a liberal state, and it's out of control, and it will continue to be out of control because you're doing their job. Now, I remember a long time ago, one of my, I won't say friend, but a dude that I associated really well, we joked around a lot because, everybody is prejudiced in some way or another, and prejudice and racism and racist is a lot different. You know what I mean? It's different to be race against somebody. You can have prejudice against somebody, you know what I mean? But he had made a joke a long time ago, and he was like, what's up with your people? Like, they keep dying and blah, blah. And I kind of took it offensive for a second, but it's just like, I had to laugh at it. But I told him, when they're done coming for us, they're going to come for you. And you're seeing it right now. Like, people right now, 40% of the population in Texas is Hispanic. And that's cool. It's a good thing. It's a really good thing. You know what I mean? And even to walk through California and see that pretty much Mexico and is taking California back. And not just Mexicanos, because you got Salvadorans, you got... LA is a melting pot of everything. You have every race in the city. Every race. There's not one country that you can name that's not here. So it's a boiling pot. But people are mixing. It's not just like you're separated by groups nor even places such as East LA and in the deepest part of white America, they're mixing. They may not, but their kids are mixing, or, you know what I mean? Because people are getting tired of it. But I told him that once they get done coming for us, they're coming for you next. And right now you're seeing that, like, regardless of how deep the population gets, you're the threat. Blacks are no longer the threat. I mean, in other places, they're deep. But in California, you're vastly the majority, and people are not going to give up what they've taken. Like, for a colonizer to give up what he's taken is not going to happen. This is not the 1800s where you're dealing with weapons that where you gotta load muskets and all this. Nah, you have people that are willing to go above and beyond. Like, you'll have different groups talk about what they'll do, but you have a lot of whites out there that they're blinded by the people that are in charge on what they say, and they're willing to go to the extremes. Most races are not doing that. You see it. I mean, if that was the case, the Hispanics that are getting assaulted by white people or ran off the block or being deported and the masses would be doing something as far as attacking or trying to do something, but it's not like that. But if you push the whites too far, they will attack the government. They'll do all types of stuff because they refuse. It's been ingrained in them that they're number one. So they feel a sense of entitlement. So they're willing to go to the extreme in order to prove a point that they are who they are, and they're not going nowhere. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you got to be aware of the rhetoric. You got to be aware. Look at the whole thing with another thing. You had, every time you get an Hispanic in power, something and I don't even know if it's a frame job, but most of them get found guilty of some type of fraud. You had all through the valley, all them people that got busted for doing some type of slick stuff, and they couldn't stand up enough, so it put a smear on the next Hispanic or Chicano that was trying to come up. You just had this happen with these people that were using the word chango, and they're saying that, oh yeah, in families we use it. It's not derogatory. It is, and people try to pussyfoot around it because they just don't want to face the fact that they're even more racist than most white people. Most white people have got on the page of, it wasn't right that what took place. The only ones holding tight to that are the certain politicians and people that live in these spots that, you don't really need to go, like these sundown towns and stuff like that. They don't want no mixing in their town, and they would do everything in order, they'll do everything they can in order to keep you from invading their town, because that's what they see it as, an invasion. And that's what they're seeing right now. Like the masses of Hispanics that have came to the States and are now getting either, I won't say asylum, but they're being made citizens. You're the ones they're attacking now, because you're the majority. You're the real threat to their existence. But some of them are fine with it, because they figure they can mix in your blood and blend you out, or assimilate you. That's what they did with the blacks. Like, you know what I mean? It's like they got half of them to hate on each other, and now it's like, even in the black community, there's so much discord, because people, you got the light skins don't like the dark skins don't believe the light skins are black enough, so the light skins got to go even harder in order to prove that they're, or you just in general, you know what I mean? They created colorism amongst blacks. They created it amongst Hispanics. They created amongst Indians, and I mean the people from India. They created amongst Native Americans. They created amongst everybody. It was classism at one time. Now it's just race. And it's, I don't know. I'm not gonna hold you too much longer. I'm just gonna say like this, man. It's just a comic book. It's just a character. And if you're going to speak on something, know the background and know that Submariner Namor is not Hispanic. He is not Taino. He is none of that. He is an Atlantean, which is pretty much fictitious. Nobody really knows if they really existed or not. So, don't be so up in arms about it. And for the blacks that feel some type of way about it too, you have to just, you know what I mean? Like, you had, what's the name, the Pan American dude that said, that Namor, spoiler, that he killed the Queen of Wakanda, and that the daughter had a chance to do something to him and to return it, and she didn't. At one time it was whites, now he's on Mexicans. They don't even say Hispanic, he just says Mexicans, period, which Namor wasn't Mexican, and in the story he was Mayan. His character was Mayan. He may be Mexicano, I don't know, but his is Mayan, and that is not that. Those are not Mexicanos. But I digress. Hopefully, this episode doesn't put people off as far as like on a race thing, because it's not about race. It's just pointing out certain things that are perplexing at times. It doesn't have to be racism, classism, or nothing. People continue to make that a thing because they're comfortable in it, and I don't really see them changing anytime soon. But hopefully in the future it will change. Like, that's why when I see people do mixing of races, it's kind of like, yeah, because now it's like, it's to that point where people don't even care. Stop using white supremacy as a clutch. You're racist because you're racist. Your colonizers made you the way you are, and you continue to perpetuate that. You know what I mean? And it's like, at some point you got to wake up. It ain't fitting. It ain't working for nothing. It just keeps you stuck and stagnant and scared to reach out. You know what I mean? And you just make it worse, because they may not want to create another character like that to stir up this type of controversy. And maybe they will, maybe to see each other at each other's throat. Like I said, you guys don't have to, the people that are in power don't have to do nothing. All they have to do is put out a few stories and watch you just kill each other off until there's no more. That's a war not worth fighting. If anything, togetherness, even with the people that are of other races, you don't have to exclude them. You know what I mean? You choose to do it because you choose to. It's something in you that has not yet felt comfortable exploring other options. But this has been one of those episodes where I just talk a lot. But I'm your boy, the other Zaudz one, aka whatever. Welcome to Zaudz Vendetta TV, and hopefully we'll have stronger talking points, and it won't be about race. On that note, you enjoy your day. I got to get ready to shower and go to work. And I'm out.